Hey, this is Cap, and you're watching Thorin, the only man besides Richard Lewis who somehow found a way to get both League of Legends and Dota Redditors to hate him.
Gamer subs, gamer subs, gamer subs, wow. The suppiest supplington, so sup now. Watermelon ice is really awfully nice. But dragon fruit punch goes great with some lunch. And to strawberry burst, I could build a new church. 'Cause it's gamer subs, gamer subs, gamer subs. Ting! Sup my gamers, get 10% off your order with the code Thorin, Thorin, at gamersubs.gg. Now, you may have seen on Twitter, if you follow that medium, that I've left the Esports Awards completely. An award show I've been involved with for many, many years. I've even won an award there. I've given speeches. I presented awards there. I've referenced now a previous video I made where it was after the whole Booga incident where that Fortnite player won Player of the Year, for fuck's sake. And in line with what I said there, I am leaving because I don't believe in the project. I believe it's flawed and I don't want to be a part of it anymore. You'll notice this is what I did with Flashpoint too, right? I also did a tweet where I said it would be what I thought it would be, or I would leave and then you would know. So essentially, in this industry, I'm the canary in the coal mine on some of these projects. The difference is, once I smell the gas, I get the fuck out of there. I don't let myself die for you motherfuckers for a bunch of games. So, let's get into this. The main reason I left the Esports Awards is I don't think the concept, the way it's executed, can actually work in the esports industry right now. I don't think anyone could actually fully pull it off to do all those games, the entire world of esports, and have it actually be independent and fair. Now, I know that because I've helped them change some of the things over the years with feedback, suggesting people, trying to get better panelists for them, pushing for certain games to have more people, more experts. The premise is great. And I wish it could work, because I actually really want a legit independent awards, which it sort of is. By the way, it's levels above any of the others that I'm aware of. Like, shit like the fucking Game Awards shouldn't even be mentioned. Or that bloody, like, Women in Esports Awards, where it was so scuffed and pathetically done that they had people like, I think they had, like, female analysts as commentators, and then they had like the host in the analyst category. Like, they hadn't even done their basic duty. They didn't give a fuck about that topic. Most of those awards are an absolute joke. So one of the other reasons I also love the Esports Awards, by the way, is the whole Hall of Fame. I mean, it's called Lifetime Achievement Award that they've introduced. I want that to be a thing. I think that's an awesome idea. I even think the people they've introduced to that, inducted to it so far, are totally legit people. And I think in the history of esports, so many people have tried that concept, but they just do it for a few years. Normally they give it to people they like, or just the same names Fatality Boxer every time. And then they just scoff it and just say, fuck it, after a few years, just abandon the project. That's something that needs to go on long term for it to have the prestige and the status that you would hope to actually honour someone's lifetime worth of achievement in esports. When we say lifetime, obviously, esports is only around like 20, 25, 30 years max. So as a result, you can't really have more than that as a lifetime, right? That is a lifetime in esports. Speaking of which, before I get to my reasons why I left, I'll just want to say this. Since I'm not going to be a part of it anymore, for the Lifetime Achievement Award, I hope that the following 5 people are among the very next inductees to the Lifetime Achievement Award in the non-player side of the equation, because obviously industry people can go in as well. So I hope Sir Scoots goes in. Again, these people's records speak for themselves. Go do your own homework. I don't have to educate you. Ralph Reichart, Sylvie Stroy, Torbull and Lil Susie. These people all deserve a Lifetime Achievement Award. They all meet the criteria. They're better, in my opinion, than some of the people who will go in next. So there's just a little freebie for you. Now, the premise, which I actually like, is you put together a panel of experts and insiders in the esports industry. You have them vote on who is the best player, team, whatever the category is. The issue is this. You need to have really good experts to make this work, in my opinion. But you also have got to have so much self-awareness about the industry, your game's place in it, what your player did versus what it sounds like the other people did, that you can contrast, and don't just come in as the League of Legends guy and go, well, I'm only going to say the League of Legends person wins, and the guy from CS doesn't go, well, only the CS person wins. And I will say, generally, they did a very good job with this latter point, by the way. Actually, a lot of self-awareness. People from smaller games sometimes say, actually, my game, they weren't dominant enough that they should win, or this person in this game didn't win this key championship. That actually, I think, is the only reason it should be contrasted against League of Legends, for example. So people were quite fair with that. The problem is the expert balance. That's the part where they just couldn't fix it. And I don't think it can be fixed, quite frankly. Because even though they did a good job generally with setting up this award show, the panels aren't good enough in a number of the big games. Remember the major games I'm talking about here. And it ain't the award show's fault, by the way, because I know even if they had those holes years ago, I've tried to fill them. I've gone to the people who you'd want on these panels, and you just cannot get them to do it. I've tried to get so many top experts and thinkers from Dota, CSGO, League of Legends. They don't want to be involved, or they say they will, and then they never reply to the email. Or they find out you don't get paid, and that it just means volunteering your time. And guess what? Some of these people don't give a fuck about doing anything for the industry. And quite frankly, even though the same people I then see go and bitch on Twitter, but I haven't got this is the wrong person. Why didn't a StarCraft person win? Or they go, these awards are pathetic and mean nothing. It's like, yeah, because of people like you. And these people like you, otherwise they can't succeed, can they, for fuck's sake? So when people find out you might have to actually give up 10 to 15 hours of your year just to help, in theory, the right people win, discussing all the categories, even categories you might not care about, yeah, they don't want to do it at that point in time. So even though the awards show tries to get the best people they could, most of esports, quite frankly, is too lazy or doesn't want to be involved, and hence, it's not appropriate this award exists, in my humble opinion. So now I'll lead into some side issues, which add up collectively to just make the process unappealing to me, beyond the fact that the expert thing's a bit scuffed, it's mainly more insiders. Because that's the thing, without top experts in every game, they end up just going too hard on the other side, the insider angle. So you get esports lawyers are on the panel, agents are on the panel, org managers are on the panel from teams, PR people are on the panel, developer employees are on the panel. These people somehow care more about these awards than the experts. Now, if you're cynical, you say, yeah, because they want to see their game, their fucking clients, their people win. Maybe so. You know what? At least they have some incentive to fucking do it. The people who in theory are independent and love to talk shit on Twitter, they just won't get involved. So one of the issues I had is because of these people, some of them are just like, you know, they're in esports, but they're not experts. I had to be way too involved. I'm not exaggerating. Every call I was in, I probably talked half the time. So if, say, there was 10 people on the call, one guy from England's just talking half the time. And not because I choose to, by the way, because if I don't, some people have nothing to say about most of those topics. And as I say, since they didn't have enough experts in the big games, if it was CSGO, to some degree League of Legends, especially certain regions that certain people on the panel don't cover, and especially before last year, Dota, I basically had to do most of the talking and explaining. And by the way, I've only ever followed Dota as a fan. I've never even claimed to follow that as like a historian necessarily. I am one panel member. It's not the fucking Thorin Esports Awards. And even if I tell them appropriate stuff, they can always overrule me anyway. So what's the fucking point? So one of my issues is most people only know one game, or they slightly know many, many games. And quite frankly, if you looked at what the panel was made up of, the non-major games were way better represented than the big three, than CS, League of Legends, Dota. And I'm not talking just like, you know, the non-major games like Rainbow Six and Stack. No. Mobile games and fighting games would have way more legit experts and people who knew the game than those big titles. Well, then what's the point? Not least since those big titles are the games that win the awards because they are the major prestigious esports awards. It's insanely hard to win if you're in Rocket League, if someone wins the World Championship in League of Legends, of course. So we can't only have the Rocket League fucking people there making out the decision as to whether the League of Legends guy's the best, can we? Now, I'm also, by the way, pissed off with the contributions of some of these other panel members, which I'll now get into. But first of all, let's talk about the very premise of how they do it, because the criteria, right, to me is obvious. And yet every year there would be these battles and having to explain to people again and again, some of them who've been there for years, to stop giving criteria that doesn't make sense, because the criteria is pretty self-evident, right? You are the best entity in this category for this year. That's it. But instead, people constantly wanted to credit like stories and tangential nonsense, like, but well, they went back to back. So you mean they won the championship last year and this year? What would last year have to do with this? But the accomplishment. Oh, but it was their 6th championship. That's a new record in the game. Again, we're only judging this year. Or the maddest one was when people were going, and they did all of this during a pandemic. Like, that's not what makes you win. Those are fucking shit media narratives. That's inappropriate. Like, say it if you want as a comment, but people really thought these things mattered and had to be considered. Then, actually, the whole of this year never worked because, unfortunately, the awards are always held not at the very end of the year, but towards the end of the year. And as a result, there's nearly always a month and a half or 2 months where you're in a position where all the voting has to have already been done. So as a result, it gets super tricky with when the championships in each game are. So TI, that's going to usually always fall under the bat. The cut-off dates is going to be fine, and it's going to have recency bias where it'll give you a great chance to win. Worlds, that nearly always ends after some part of it started, so they had to change the system, so you could initially have a vote, and then once Worlds was done, you could see, did you change your vote? CSGO majors, remember, we've had them in the past where they went through to November. You'd be in bad trouble, right? So as a result, These issues, in my opinion, the fact that it doesn't just happen at the end of the year after everything, because I understand it's Christmas then, right? You can't do it. It means that the problem is when you have that cut-off of the month and a half or 2 months, people just couldn't mentally understand to just roll it over the next year because of recency bias. They'd be like, oh, I guess we should count that, but and they'd always be unsure. So that in itself just sort of killed the concept to me. Then World Championship in practically any game, especially League of Legends, was given way too much stature. If you just won Worlds, I know they've given G2 it many, many times, but I had to argue for that, guys. People wanted FPX to win sometimes. People wanted to go with this angle that, if you win the World Championship, you must be the best team in the game. They wouldn't accept any other premise, and forget other games, by the way. Then, recency bias generally mildly affects all the categories and all the people on the panel, but I don't necessarily think that's the biggest deal ever because, quite frankly, I think I'm just weird in that sense that I cannot consider that, or I can take myself out and go, wait a minute, no, that was only the last few months. What happened to the other people? Just seem to be in that trap. There's nothing you can really do about it. So then let's get to some of the other issues. I'll tell you what a big one was. It's a minor one overall in terms of the awards, but it's one that certainly started to make me less and less feel like I wanted to be a part of this, and you'll see why. It's the conflicts of interest. So I understand why right now you basically have to have conflicts of interest to do an award show this size. Because if the experts won't volunteer, the independent people, then you're going to have conflict of interest because it's the only way to get some competent people through the fucking door. And in fact, if they're doing it because they have an incentive to slightly compromise the awards, well, we need people, right? So what else are you supposed to do? I don't make these choices, but that's essentially what had to be. That was the deal with the devil that the awards had to make. So the problem I have is this. That's not what you want on an awards panel, ideally. And it did cause issues, as you're about to find out. So, for example, say you are in the category that you're actually now having to discuss on this award show. First of all, in my opinion, you should never speak at all. Literally at all. You shouldn't not only not speak about yourself and your colleagues in that category, you shouldn't even give your opinion on the other people in the category, because there's a conflict of interest. You have an incentive to downplay them, or to say biased shit, or to say things that would make them not win. Now, yeah, someone like me isn't going to do that, but you can't trust that people are like me. So as a result, people were doing this. People would speak not only about themselves, their colleagues, they would speak even about other people in the category and give opinions. That isn't appropriate in my opinion. Then also, it should be for the others to do the talking in that scenario. But fortunately, they don't know who the fucking people are. So out of necessity, sometimes people had to speak who had a conflict of interest, and plenty of people wanted to. And that's one of the issues I have as well. You can't just change the awards to only fit me and what I want. If the rest of the panel want it another way, it's time for me to leave and them to stay and to keep doing it that way, right? Regardless of the fact that, essentially, I was the most important person on the awards. I dare anyone else on the awards to disagree who actually was in the calls. So, okay, then how about this? Say you had Riot Games people in the call. This is just an example, but it did happen. I'm not joking. Riot Games people would always find a way to bring fucking Riot Games up, even when it was mildly not appropriate for that category or that person or whatever. Or they'd just only big up some Riot Games. Not all of them, but some of them. It left a bad taste in my mouth, put it that way. This is an even worse one. An agent who was in one of these calls, literally within one call, twice shilled for clients of his to win the award. And even when he said a disclaimer, it is my client, but I think you did a great job. I was like, why are you speaking then? You have a literal financial interest in him winning this fucking award. It could help you and your career and your bottom line. This is mental. So in that scenario, by the way, you don't imagine I just sit there meekly, no, I don't like the way this is going. I just piped up and said, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, don't do that ever again in this awards. Don't ever speak about a client of yours. We don't want to hear you shill them, mate. Let other people talk in that scenario. And you know what? This is one of the moments that made me realise I can't be part of this awards, is there was just an awkward silence. 0 people spoke up and agreed with me, and you could get that feeling actually from people by the fact they said nothing, that it was more like they were like, oh, he's made a scene, this is awkward, why can't we all just get along? Because you're fucking ruining the premise of the awards. You're a shill, you're a piece of shit. I thought, why am I even here? I don't want to be in some mainstream award show where your studio can just buy you the award and then people get to think it was real and you were the best. I'm not in for that. I'm completely out on that note. Then there was all the identity politics nonsense, which you're going to think, oh, bloody hell, that's not going on. Here's the thing. It hasn't taken the beast down and it hasn't overrun it, but it's draining it, and it's a poison, a toxin in the fucking system, in the bloodstream, as it were, and they're in trouble, put it that way, because it was present in the background and annoyingly so. So, for example, you would have scenarios where women who were nominated in the category, they were basically suggested to be the winner by other women, as far as I can tell, simply for being women. We're not talking about legit people like Emily Rand, who I've suggested, just like Kelsey in the past years, 2 or 3 years to win those awards. We're talking about people where they're a woman who's nominated in the category, but she's maybe like 7th best in her field. But the women would be trying to find some of the women would be trying to find an angle as to why she should win. You can guess their motivations, right? Then there were women in there who would only agree with your nomination of, are you suggesting a woman should win? If you were talking about a woman, I tried this. I tried A/B testing. I tried checking out what people said. I tried thinking back on I was in nearly all the calls, by the way. And it was mental. Some of these people, the Esports Awards should have been listening, taken the notes and said, wait a minute, there's a pattern here. I have to get this person off the awards. Like, this person literally won't let a man win a certain award, no matter how good he is. I can't fuck with that. That is hateful. That is fucking wrong. And I won't be a part of an awards like that. Even if it's a minor thing like that. Not least because if you're not kicking the person off, then you co-sign that shit. And I sure as hell don't. So I'm getting the fuck out. Then you would have people where for that like lifetime achievement award, think about how long esports has been around. Think about some of the people who've done things for 15, 20 years, who've done enormous things. There are women who should be in that lifetime achievement / a Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I suggested one earlier called Lil Susie. She's a legend in this industry, done many, many different jobs in many, many different continents, different games. She's earned that spot. But they would be suggesting nonsense women to go in this Hall of Fame or Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm talking about women who already did stuff in the last 5 years. Women who did like some good stuff, but not even the best in their... It was mental. You should have seen it. And no matter how many times the context was explained, these people on a different call would give some other stupid one. While the rest of us are naming, you know, who you'd think, oh, how about we put in fucking Boxer and Nada and Daigo and fucking Red Eye? Like, give me a break. Is this real? I have to argue whether Red Eye is better than someone who was like a female observer in 2016 in CSGO. This is a fucking joke. That's like, you can make the debate, and we did, of course, but what a waste of everyone's motherfucking volunteered time. I'm not playing with that shit. Then, like I say, they wanted to put them in over all these legendary people. By the way, you'll like this. This is a side issue. It's not why I left. But I thought I'd throw this in as well because it did make me feel like I'm also supporting something that effectively isn't for people like me. And what gave me that feeling was when we came to that Lifetime Achievement Award, it's been done, I think, twice now? There was only one person ever who put my name forwards, even as just someone who might be on there. Because, by the way, the panel picks those ones. And you can probably guess who that person would be. Now, listen, I'm not saying I have to be in, but I tell you what, there's some people they're going to put in, there's some people they have put in. I think I'm significantly more eligible than these people. I've been there much longer, I've done much more work, I've given much more to esports. But what it made me think is, wait a minute, nobody even speaks up. And by the way, when that person spoke up, everyone else was just silent, just said fuck all. Meanwhile, like I say, think of some of the people I've just suggested they wanted to have a Lifetime Achievement Award and how much work they might have done. So it just made me think, you know what? Fuck this whole industry. I'm back at square one, where in the 2000s, people like Turtle Entertainment would do big award shows, and they would never ever nominate me ever for anything, or act like I didn't exist. Then just give it to Carmack year after year, and then he joined their company the year after they'd won all the back-to-back Journalist of the Year awards and stuff like. None of my articles ever nominated. Nah, fuck that shit. Again, I ain't going to be a part of that. Like, why would I help build out a system that directly discriminates against people like me? Nah. I'll go do my own shit. You have your own little bullshit awards where you give it to your own fucking cronies if you want. Then how about this? Even in Journalist of the Year award, you're going to think, that doesn't make sense, Thorin. You've won the award. I personally think the reason I won the award is because the panel was way smaller back then. And at that point in time, you also needed the award to have credibility. So if the two winners out of the gate are Richard Lewis and Thorin, you've got immense credibility for that award now. Now when some big-headed cunt like fucking Jacob Wolf wins and thinks that he is now the shit in journalism, guess what? It actually has some credibility as an award, doesn't it? I know he'll think he brought him the credibility to it. He didn't. He is but a fucking Padawan to the Jedi Masters, as it were. Although he's more of a fucking Sith in that sense, isn't he? So how about this? One of the reasons, by the way, why for Journalist of the Year award, even if the fans wanted me, by the way, almost every time the fans would vote me like top 2 or 3 or number 1 as Journalist of the Year. I'm talking every year I ever saw the background information. But you know what? Even though I've won, I've come second, I've come third or whatever, like the reason why I probably never will win it twice is because also people never spoke up for me as journalists. Like one person did that as well. Because the people in that call don't consider me a journalist. People in esports don't understand what journalism is. They think my videos and my content isn't journalism because they don't know what it is. They think journalism is just telling you who's going to join Evil Geniuses 2 weeks before the official announcement. They can't conceive of anything more. So now my entire field isn't respected properly and my contributions aren't respected. How about this? But Thorin, they have Content Creator of the Year. They have Personality of the Year. Look who wins Personality of the Year. They give it to superstar players and massive media entities. Look who wins Content Creator of the Year. It's basically who from Fortnite, FIFA and COD with all the pleb fanboys has millions of views on a bunch of fucking gameplay clips. It's never me. I'm not even in those categories most of the time, boys. Then there was this general sense, going back to the identity politics bullshit, that people wanted women to win awards if it was vaguely plausible they were one of the candidates that could win. And for what reason? To be woke. Not because, like, I think it's because they're the best. It's like, if they were, like, the third best, it's like, is there a way that they could win? Like, and as soon as you made, like, well, I guess you could make this case for them. They go, yeah, and then speak, and they just go, what is this? What is this again? This isn't here to make people feel nice. It's here to see who the fucking best is. Then there's another angle that's going to blow your mind if you actually think about it. And none of these people did until I brought it up, which is this foreign language angle, where to try and be woke now, you have to try and give it to people who you've never heard commentate. I'm not joking. People would be suggesting for commentator of the year, like the fucking Ibai guy, who's like this giant like Spanish streamer who's got an enormous following, who casts in Spanish, or Korean commentators who cast in Korean, or Chinese ones who cast in Chinese. Literally, none of us in those calls, to my knowledge, or at least 99% of us, are not fluent in those languages. Therefore, we don't know what those people are saying. So how can we judge if they are the best commentator? And why would we want them to be the main nominated people so that fans, in theory, could just vote them because there's more fans in China or fucking Spain than a guy from, pick where you want, France or something? This is, again, a ridiculous premise. It's woke for the sake of being woke. Like, I even said to some of those people, why are we mentioning this when we don't speak their language? We're just saying it because, like, I've heard he's the most respected. Who cares? This is essentially, if you're being real, a fucking English language awards. That's just what it is. I know it's the Esports Awards, but that's the problem. We aren't appropriately going to be able to judge Chinese esports and Korean esports, etc. Especially not with the way that, like, people only follow certain games and then the Western leagues of them. So it's just the way it is. And I'll throw this in there as well. If you get tarred with certain culture war brushes, specifically if any kind of like criminal allegations are made against you, some people in those calls, because I asked them on some of the feedback calls, overtly said they won't vote for you because they believe you're a bad person. Again, that's not what these awards are about. It's not the good person of the year award. It's not the, oh, did he block people on Twitter? No, it's if, is he fucking the best in his field? This is ridiculous. So then you had, this is a side issue, then you had the Esports Awards social media account just clout chasing with twats like Jake Lucky, a dishonest journalist who doesn't have integrity and who lies about me and others in the industry and tries to rabble-rouse and spread misinformation about us. So, okay, you know what? If you want to get likes off a guy like that and you want to be involved with a guy, enjoy your time with him. I tell you what, why don't you get him to be your panel member expert? Have him talk half the time, see if the awards go great. Then there's the fans. You know how I feel about a lot of the fans. There were so many stupid nominations made by fans that we had to just ignore, that it meant that, like, the percentage chart that you would see of, like, oh, 40% of fans vote for this, in some categories was totally inappropriate. That person shouldn't even be nominated at all and wouldn't be. As in, people would put Nadeshot for Player of the Year. He doesn't even play anymore, by the way. People would put, like, Brazilian streamers and famous Brazilian people in every category for games they don't even play. I mean, I've alluded to it earlier, but voting Booga the Player of the Year in 2019 is actually offensive to my core in what I think this awards is supposed to represent and what esports represents. That's a fucking joke. That is some bullshit media narrative I ain't going to be a part of. Now, the award show itself, when you go to the sort of the gala, like a prom, you put on all the outfits and stuff. I've said in the 2019 period of time, I had amazing feelings about that. The sentiment felt awesome. It was like, wow, all these cool people in the industry. We don't get to meet up very often. We get to meet up, have a good time. The problem is, with the things that have gone on in the last 2 years, they've shown me the ugly, bitter side of seemingly the majority of the people who would be at those awards show towards me and people like me. I don't want to be a part of that. I wouldn't want to attend now. I despise a lot of those people. They make me sick. I wouldn't shake their hand. I don't want that person to come like they've done many times. Shake my hand, come up to me out of nowhere, shake my hand, say I'm a legend, I say, oh, I always loved your stuff. And then a month later on Twitter say like I'm a piece of shit who should be kicked out of the industry. Fuck that noise. I ain't been a part of that. And quite frankly, after seeing how a lot of you held up over these last couple of years, you aren't fit to be in this industry. So good luck. In general, I do like a lot of the things about the awards. I actually think it's much, much better than outsiders would expect. I know you think, well, what the fuck? You just said all that. You don't know what a nightmare some of the other awards are. Those could never be legit. Right now, though, it is not the time for a real version of this type of awards. Like, why am I wasting all these hours with people who don't respect me, my work? And quite frankly, if I'm the one talking all the time and I'm the one informing, why don't I just do my own fucking awards? Why don't I give my own out and then the right person wins? So I have a new philosophy on this industry. I'm not going to fix things from the inside. It can't be fixed when it's rotten, and the people on top won't fix things, or the business can't survive that way. People won't lose money to do the right thing in esports. That's just the way it is, I'm afraid. So when things are broken for good reasons in the esports industry, where I've been and tried to help, what I've learned is they're not broken by accident. They're broken for very good reasons, and they might pretend as though, oh, you can't do anything about that, but it helps someone. It incentivizes things to some way, and it's what people want. You might not think it's the best, but they do, so let them have at it. I'm going to go do my own shit. I'm building out my own side of the industry, and I ain't giving my seal or my consent to other projects like this. This video was kindly supported by Bobby, Lager15, Pronogo, Zachary Carter, Andrew, Alexander Rao, Andreas Kroknes, Animosity, Dean Tanglis, ErikHillestad, Hades, Jdubs, Jensen Goh, Tobias Bernasconi, Zyrathenia, Zoomba, and as always, a special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my shows? Do you want to ask a question for my monthly video AMA? Want teasers for who's coming up on my content? Or do you even want to take part in one of those exclusive discussions with me about esports? If so, put your money where your mouth is and join the Illuminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.